Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie from StoryADay here. I wanted to chat to you today about those mean voices in your head and why they are so persistent and what to do about it. I am not immune to those voices. When we sit down to write, it can be so discouraging to have those voices in our heads, and they probably say something like, why even bother? Who are you to think that you can write? Why are you putting all this energy into something with no guarantee that anything will come of it? You're wasting your time. You're wasting everyone else's time. You're wasting energy. You should be doing something more important with your time. Isn't there a food bank you could volunteer with? Who's going to read your stories? And they just go on and on and on. And the problem is that we are creative people and we're smart and we spend all of our time with ourselves. There is no one who knows you and your weaknesses and your buttons the way that the person who spends all day with you inside your head knows your weaknesses and your buttons and your insecurities. And we're creative people. We are verbose. We are articulate. And we can articulate all of the ways in which you're wasting your time. All of the things that you might be insecure about, you also have the power to be incredibly articulate about. And it sucks. And we have to get over it. And it's hard some days. Some days it's fine. You're just like, shut up, voice. And then you sit down and you write. Some days you're feeling strong and you've got a great idea or you've got a deadline and you're like, yeah, you can shut up because I've got stuff to do. And some days you sit and you wait for that voice to shut up. Or you sit and you wait for some brilliant idea to come along and push that voice out. And if it doesn't happen, the voice gets strengthened. Because somewhere in the background it's going, see, told you. You're not up to this. And it becomes this downward spiral. I want us to get on the upward spiral. And as I say, I am not immune to this phenomenon. And there might be a reason I'm talking to you about it today. So there are several things that I recommend people do. And I'm not alone. I'm not the only. I didn't come up with these by myself. Some of them I did, some of them I didn't. But there are lots of things that I recommend that people who are supporting your productivity and creativity will suggest. And some of them are things like look at past successes. Celebrate things that you've done in the past that were hard. And that can be anything from completing high school without actually murdering anyone, to giving birth to a child or organising a wedding or holding down a job for more than 5 minutes. All of these things are actually quite hard, and you've done some of them. You've done some hard things. So you can start there and you can remind yourself of hard things you've done in the past. Now, the problem with this one is that the negative voices are still there. So one of the techniques you can use to get over the negative voice is actually journal about not just the things that you did that were hard and worthy of celebration, but you can let that little negative voice out and you can let it come out through your fingers, whether you type or whether you handwrite or whether you do voice notes. Let that voice come out and don't fight with it. Just let it come out and tell you how rubbish and terrible and stupid you are for trying to even celebrate this stuff and who are you. And if you do that for long enough, you do it for about 5 minutes, you're going to realise how ridiculous the voice sounds. Like you would never put up with that. You would never let that voice talk to your best friend or your child that way. And at some point you will go, oh yeah, you are just being a jerk, mean voice. And so when you write it down and when you air it and when you bring it out and don't just let it rattle around inside your head, that mean voice and all of the things it's saying get a little defanged. They get a little less ouchy because you're looking at it and you're going, that's actually not reasonable. What you're saying is an unreasonable expectation, or it's an unreasonably mean thing to say to anybody, and therefore I'm not going to take it quite as seriously as I was taking it when it was just stirring up my emotions and rattling around inside my brain and I was trying to suppress it. So one of the things you can do, therefore, is start by celebrating something you've done and then let the negative voice rage and just look at it and listen to it for a while and see how ridiculous it is. I don't know if ridiculous is the right word because it's doing a lot of harm. It's not laughable, but it is unreasonable. And you wouldn't let it talk to anyone else this way. You wouldn't have those kinds of expectations of anyone else. So airing it can do some good. Another thing that I really recommend people do, and I have not done as good a job on this as I should have done recently, and I'm going to this week fix that. I used to, when I worked in an office, keep a file of emails that when people would email me and say, oh, this went well or that went well, or you thank me. I was working in customer support, so I got a lot of people telling me what they thought we were doing wrong, of course. And I think I was hired because I have this voice. And I was on the phones and I was pretty good at customer service for reasons that are probably clear to you if you're listening to this. But sometimes things would go right and people would email me or even if something had gone, especially if something had gone wrong and I fixed it, people were generally pretty good about coming back and saying thank you so much and that was wonderful and thank you for your help and you're amazing and whatever they decided to say. When you make someone's life better, they tend to be pretty effusive. So I would keep a folder of those emails or letters or whatever they sent me because I'm old, and I deliberately called the folder adulation because it was an overblown word and it helped me get over my British tendency to not be okay with praise. I've lived in the US for 30 years now. I'm a lot better. But at the time, I needed to call it something outlandish, like adulation, in order for me to put things in there, not take myself too seriously. And it was a wonderful thing to have on a day when someone had slammed the phone down on me or cursed at me or something like that. I would open up my adulation folder and have a look at some of the nice things people had said and go, yeah, it's okay. It's not you, or it's not just you. So one of the things that I haven't been quite so good at since running StoryADay, and just the way that the world has changed, information comes at you in a lot of different ways now. So I have face-to-face conversations with people. I have social media interactions with people. I get emails. And it's not quite as easy to just shove everything in a file. So I haven't been quite as good at keeping my adulation folder up to date. And so now, when I'm feeling down, it's not as easy. Because actually, when I worked at the company, when I first started, I'd actually print out the emails and put them in a physical folder. And that was super easy to grab. So any day when I was feeling down, I would just lean under my desk, open the file drawer, pull out a manila folder, and it had printouts of things that people liked about me. That made it easy to access. Now, if I have to go digging through, I saved comments from people and I've saved social media updates and I've liked things and they're all over the place. And they're harder to access. So it's less effective these days when I go looking for praise that will reassure me that I'm doing a good job, either in my writing or in my business or whatever. It's harder to access it quickly, and that opens the door to the negative voices again. They're like, don't even bother looking. You're just being vain. You shouldn't need this. Whatever your negative voices are saying. It was so much easier when I had that manila folder with printouts. So I'm going to get better myself at, I don't think I'm going to go trawling through past stuff. I'm going to designate a place for any time I get a compliment or anytime someone tells me that something has gone well. I'm going to designate a place where all of those things go. So that next time I have a bad day where I'm like, and the voices in your head go, who are you? I'm going to have one place where I go and pull out the answers to that question. Who am I to think that I can write? Well, I'm a person who's had stories published. I'm a person who's got through to the final rounds of contests. I'm a person who's been published in anthologies, and I'm a person who was hired to write. I'm a person who's sold magazine articles. I'm a person who has been chosen for a selective writing program with other writers who I admire immensely in it. So, there's things like that which you forget on an average day, which are absolutely proof that you are a person who should be doing the thing you want to do. And you have some of those. It might not be to do with publishing. It might be to do with publishing. It might be to do with the people in your life who love your stories, the people in your life who love the person you are when you're writing. It might be the way you feel after a writing session. It might be that you've entered a contest and got through to the final 4. It might be that you just felt amazing that time when you finished 4 stories in 4 weeks, or that time when you did StoryADay and you wrote almost every day. Whatever it is that you have achieved, make that stuff, make a list, put it somewhere, and acknowledge that it's important. And for a while there, I wasn't doing any new episodes of the podcast because I was doing a lot of other things, and I hadn't, sometimes you can't do everything. And putting together the podcast takes some energy, and not so much the sitting here talking to the microphone, talking to you, that doesn't take too much energy at all. But I had started doing video, and then there's a lot of production work that goes with that, and I hadn't asked for any help yet, so I didn't. Anyway, so it was turning into a lot of stuff, and I wasn't, something had to give. But recently I've been hearing from people that they missed the podcast, and sometimes I have these things that I want to talk through with you. And I know that there are people out there who enjoy it and who value just listening to me ramble about what's going on in writing in my life at the moment. And this week, it's dealing with doubt. That's what's going on for me. And it's embarrassing to admit it, because I'm the gal who stands up twice a year and says, you can write a story every day for a month, and you can, and I can. And still, the voices come. So I'm going to produce this podcast. I'm going to queue it up to come out on Saturday, and I'm going to go and write today's story. And it doesn't have to be good, it just has to be written. I hope that you're writing during the StoryADay challenge. If you are, stop by the blog. If you've seen one of the prompts, just come to the blog and scroll down, leave a comment underneath the blog post. Let us know what you're up to, how it's going, and whether you wrote today, whether you're going to write tomorrow. And I hope that you will be kind to yourself, because there's no way for us to write good stories if we're not writing stories. And some of them, and some of the stories and some of our words and some of our paragraphs are not going to be good. And that is part of the process. You don't get to be good at anything unless you're willing to be bad at it sometimes. That's not just writers, that's everything. Being uncomfortable is uncomfortable. And if you're not required to be uncomfortable to make your living at writing, I sometimes think that would be easier, right? If I was making my living with my fiction, would it be easier? Maybe not, but I would have to shut the voices up faster. The fact that I'm not relying on my fiction to put food in my mouth means it's an awful lot easier for me to listen to the voices saying, why even bother? So, not today, voice. I hope that you are also silencing the voice of your doubts, and I hope that you're writing. And whether you're writing a story a day or whether you are writing something completely different, hop on over to storyaday.org, leave us a comment, let us know what you're up to, and most of all, keep writing. Thanks for listening. Why not come over to the blog at storyaday.org and check out this week's writing prompts and articles. And in the meantime, have a great creative week. And of course, keep writing.